Hello everyone, this is Starseed Jason Moss on video 6. I think that this video clip, I'm going to just come right to the point about this pretty clearly and say that if the message does not resonate with you, then it's not for you. It's very simple. If you find anything someone's saying to you too unbelievable or too out of the realm of what you have accepted as a possibility or a plausibility, but the person continues to say this, you have issue with this, you don't like what's being said, there's resonating within you a great deal of duality of ego and separation and issues of division. There's a division in you. You've come to this with a perception, a precept of something to do with division and separation. You approach this with that third-dimensional thinking. You will find a lot of things that will not make sense on the level you're using to think with. You will walk into this and you'll be looking for something that makes sense to the understanding that you've already laid down. There have been a lot of people who share their experiences both on YouTube, in person, in conferences, and I'm still looking for the book out there, the one book that is established as the all-powerful Encyclopedia Britannica of alien abduction facts that are absolute accepted facts by the mainstream and otherwise public, the inner circle of the experiencers. And this book will be the annotated volume that everyone goes by, the bylaws, the Bible of the experiencers, that the do's and don'ts and the acceptance of that's acceptable, that's not acceptable, and if it doesn't fall within the confines of this imaginary book that you have on your shelves, that you will dismiss this and you will throw it out. Often people are accused of seeking approval of their experiences. The answer to that is my answer to that would be simply what I said at the start of this video clip. If it doesn't resonate with you, then go away. Don't watch the videos. You don't have to listen to any of this. Then this message is not for you. This message is certainly for those individuals that understand this and it resonates with them. If someone is extremely famous and has many hundreds of thousands of copies of their experiences sold to the general public, now mind you, the general public, as I've already stated, is the mainstream crowd that knows very little about this phenomena, knows extremely less about the connections that we have with extraterrestrials, ultra-terrestrials. So you base this idea that this person's probably more genuine than the other person who's lesser known, based on their acceptance by a general public that knows very little about this subject, is again going down a very dark and erroneous path in this. I do not seek anyone's acceptance. I make that point very clear. If it doesn't resonate with you, then simply go watch another YouTube video. Go someplace else. The suggestions that are put forth by this material is obviously on a nature that goes right against accepted thinking and mainstream science, mainstream ideologies on this planet at this time in 2012, and that is something of a surprise to me. since there have been great minds that have lived here on this planet that have in fact suggested that such things are in fact possible in this universe. Great minds like the late Carl Sagan and Albert Einstein, and there are many, many others. And I'm not speaking of science fiction authors, because what I'm giving you in these videos is nothing to do with science fiction. I'm not touting fictional things. I'm telling you what happened. And there's a reason for this at this particular time. And you know the reason why. I don't have to tell you the reason why. There have been many of us who have had these missions and these experiences for which we have, behind the curtains, helped to maintain humanity, to help to promote the common good in this planet and its connection to the galaxy, and peace and enlightenment. That we have in fact been responsible for the averting of certain events that could have happened. And I won't go into details about that, but we are the ones that have helped to facilitate the communication between worlds, between races, to break down barriers of communication issues. And we are the ones that have done so at a great deal of sacrifice to ourselves, due in part to the fact that this is not a socially acceptable subject matter. And it is not something that I seek social acceptance with. I don't go out looking for some medal to be put on my chest for this. I don't seek any fame or fortune in any of this. This is something that happens at this time. These messages that I'm bringing you have a reason for this. And I can remember one of the things that Beniko told me in 1992, and she's triggered the memory within me now at this time, and it's as if she's saying it again in this particular video. And I'm not channeling her, but as she said, that it would be all the same messages you're already getting, so it'd be senseless of me channeling her to be repeating everything you've already been getting for the last 20 plus years. But there is a reason why she's having me say these things to you now. And I've heard it anyways on the internet many times with other experiencers. And I can remember she said to me, and she is saying to me currently in the moment, that when human beings connect to us, the first thing that they do is they feel the spiritual love and the connection and the oneness, and they're overwhelmed by that sensation because they don't often get it in their daily lives. The first thing that they do is they go and they apply their own perceptions to this connection of religion and demons and angels and hierarchy. There's a hierarchy, she said, of people that have a much greater connection than others, and at least in the mindset of the human race. There's people who are ministers in churches. There are people who are different levels of this civilization that believe in different kinds of ways of obtaining that connection, that very special loving connection. And they believe that this hierarchy is achieved through testing and working hard at it and suffering. She said that we don't ask you to do anything to achieve a connection with us. It's accomplished. It is accomplished the instant you seek this. No tests, and we are not deities and gods to be worshipped. She said very clearly, we don't ask you to do anything to achieve a connection with us. It is done the moment you look our direction. It is already accomplished. The moment before you even take the first step, the connection of oneness in spirit and mind to us is already there. It is already accomplished. It is not something that requires special testing and schooling. That doesn't require some tattoo to put on the side of your head, or some kind of a sacrifice of some kind that you have to make, or you have to go and worry that you have maybe sinned, or you have some issue with lust or sexuality that you feel might not be accepted in some way. She said that they are of unconditional love, and that there is nothing that anyone can do down here that anyone needs to do. And she said that they found that curious, that the human race would immediately begin to try to attach something to this. That's their own perception. And then there's this division and separation in a human mind that says, well, this is an extreme amount of love. Well, I wonder if such thing can be lost. And then people believe that it can be lost. So again, there's this division and separation that jumps in, and then they start to believe very falsely that they can lose this connection by their actions, or by something that they believe in otherwise, or that they've done. She said, you can't offend us. She said, there's no need to bring flowers to our feet or build statues in our honor. There's no need. We're not deities. We're not gods. We're the Sassani. We have our own civilization, our own issues, our own troubles that we deal with. We're not coming down here to conquer this planet. We're not coming down here to take over the earth and move humankind out of the way. We respect all life and intelligent life, and love and respect all intelligent life. And this is not just words. These are, I can feel that from her. Okay, I can feel that. All right, this is something I'm also going to say. I've been called here to make a video about race equality and the need to find tolerance among yourselves with regards to what your beliefs and what you believe to be different races. You have a lot of division in this planet already established, deeply established. You have fences, you have barriers, you have different belief systems. Nobody is disrespecting those belief systems. And I'm not doing anything of that nature. All that is being asked here is to find that unity within yourselves, that you have a common energy within each other. It is very important that you find equality with yourselves, and you find that balance, and break down the walls of superstition, and break down the walls of ignorance and racism, and break down the walls of miscommunication, which causes so much further separation and division, and further violence and harm and suffering. There is no need for any of this. There is no need to be reaching for suffering as the conclusion to anything that you can achieve without the need for any of this. It is already achieved without having to reach for these things as an answer to anything. The idea that we are all one inside, regardless of race, creed, nationality, or belief, seems to be a difficult problem for a lot of people to come to terms with. People have a hard time finding that bond, that acceptance. I'm also going to talk to you about something about fear and superstition with regards to these beings. I've heard this argument thrown around many times, and I'm just going to say this, and this is the best way to put it. If we go back to the 19th century just for a minute, there were two very persecuted groups of people during that time. There was slavery in the early part of the 19th century, and there were Native Americans in North America who were driven under the Trail of Tears. And there were times and occasions where cavalry soldiers would develop a great deal of, suddenly they'd have like an awakening, and they would realize that these are equal to me. These are people. These are human beings like me. These are ordinary people, just like myself. And they don't need to be punished this way or tortured just because they look different, or their skin color's different, or perhaps they believe something different from me. When the generals would find out in the 1830s, 1820s, around that time, they would take these cavalry, American cavalry soldiers, aside and sometimes whip them, beat them, court-martial them for defying orders. And then they would accuse the Native American people further. They would accuse them of more wrongdoing, and they would say that they used Native American witchcraft on the cavalry soldier, which caused him to fall under a spell and make him feel compassion and empathy for his fellow man, for these people. These people were wrongly accused of witchcraft. The same thing happened during the slavery period of the 19th century, when slave owners turned and had awakenings and realized, these are human beings. My God, what are we doing? We can't own people. This is insane. Just because they may look different from us, this is insane. The same thing happened to those plantation owners. They were taken from their homes and beaten, and then the people from Africa were then accused of voodoo, that they had put some kind of a spell of witchcraft on the plantation owner. Well, that must be what happened, is what they would say, that there's no other explanation for this. And they would justify their cruelty to these peoples based on their fears and divisions and feelings of separation. They would put these people that had these awakenings through a series of thousands of questions and interrogations, trying to get to the right of the kernel, right to the core of why this person feels the way they do inside about that person from Africa, or that lady from the Cherokee tribe, or the Chippewa, or the Apache. And this would happen many, many times, right through the Native American wars of the Old West. There were many times when settlers would show their compassion and love for these people, as they should. Because we are all equal, we're all one, no one's above anyone else, no one is better than anyone else. There were these moments in history where people had moments of awakening, and they would realize in an instant, this is a man, this is a woman equal to me. I can feel their feelings inside them. I have that feeling that they would be persecuted, they'd be driven from their homes, and they would be asked many, many questions. Almost as if the people asking the questions weren't being researchers anymore. They were inquisitors. They were now persecuting and trying to drive that sense of love, that energy. And I do believe humanity is something that resonates throughout the galaxy. It's not just in a specific species. I think being human is something that encompasses many intelligent, sentient beings. I think dolphins are human beings. So it's as if they were trying through those hundreds of questions to drive that humanity out of these people. When I hear about alien screening, I've heard this phrase. I've heard that. I respect the researchers who say that. But I don't resonate with it, and this is why. Screening. Okay. So they say that word. And it's as if they're throwing that back up in the air again, and they're accusing him of witchcraft. That she must be putting him under some kind of alien hypnosis. and controlling his mind in some way, through some kind of screening in some way. Ridiculous. Utter nonsense. It is a definition, a catchphrase, which further fosters the fear, the superstition of these beings, and the distrust. Okay? So, I say to you, let's not repeat history. Let's not do that. When I stood on the road that night in 1992, I remember saying to a man, there were many things that happened that night I haven't put in these videos, and I don't want to, drag that out. But I do remember saying to a man, he was an African American soldier who was there, and I remember saying to him, are you going to let them treat her that way? Now this is the memory that, as I said, I have a bit of a kind of a time traveler's memory. I've got several outcomes of the same night in my head, which is not an easy thing to come to terms with. But the only way to deal with that is to just accept it, not try to put that in a linear time, and then there's the outcome to that, and then there's the outcome to this. It's just there. Let the scientists in quantum mechanics sort that out, why that is the case. And I know some of you probably saying, no, let's let the psychiatrist figure that out. Well, okay, you go ahead and you call them. And let me tell you what they're going to tell you. As they're going to say what I've heard others say, he's perfectly normal. Now, let's go down and take the lie detector test, and then I'm going to pass those. You can give me any kind you like, and any time you want. You can pay for it, I'll pay for it, I don't care. But I'm not here to prove anything to you. I'm just telling you that those are the what I remember, and it does go in different timelines. And I said to that man, I said to him, are you going to let them do this to her after what your people, your ancestors went through? This is history repeating itself. And it touched a nerve with him. And then even he turned on his own, on them, on these other soldiers, and he started to turn on them. And I like dealing with that quantum memory, if you will, of the night I saw myself standing there. That's really an interesting outcome. That it just is so, like I said, it's something that really, I find that pretty amazing. And it was difficult to come to terms with at first, in the beginning. It is not an easy thing for one to remember oneself in that way. That is not an easy thing. Let me say this to you. This took me 2 years to get to this point. And I was called at this point, at this appointed time, to do this, to say this, to make these videos. But I will say it was at least 2 years from the awakening of 2010 when I began to remember this, and it was difficult. I make it look easy now. I make it look easy. But it was hard. Because obviously I do remember the other experience, and I do remember that where I'm not there, where I hadn't arrived. And Getting back to the other memory of my arrival there that night, which I said it didn't make sense to me either, to be remembering several events of the same night. I think one of the things that I can remember was my older me was in a hat, did wear glasses. I didn't wear glasses when I was 20. And I thought, my goodness, I look old. Now, from a 20-year-old's perspective, I would. And I can remember feeling my feelings in my older counterpart. I'm not telepathic. I need to make that point on that video for research purposes, that I could feel my feelings, maybe because we're of the same mind, even from different time frames, maybe the same quantum mental signature, I don't know. But I could feel he had had a long struggling with remembering that night. And I could feel his pain. I could feel his hurt. And I could feel he was very tired. And he was very, very tired. And he was trying maybe to change something to an outcome to save someone he loved very, very much. And when she walked away from me to him, when she went to him, I could feel that interaction, and I could feel her scan him somehow. She was scanning his mind. Because I know that scanning happens, uploading. And she scanned him. And I could feel her feeling pain over his pain, his sorrow. And I could feel her suddenly connecting to him, embracing him. And making him feel very loved, very, very comforted, very deeply. She was extremely moved by what she was feeling. I could feel that in her. She was extremely moved and very deeply, there was grieving in her for him. She was sharing it very deeply. And she saw what he'd been going through, what he was walking around with. And she instantly, she was inside him, in his head, and she was comforting him and loving him and ending his sorrow and making him feel better and loved. And that was the instant that it all happened very quickly. And I really can't put into words that exchange between my witnessing that older version of myself and this, Beniko doing that. I know that the time travel aspect is one that is extremely difficult for people to swallow down, but you know that this is a time traveling race. And there have been many experiencers who have, in fact, accounted for having experiences like this. Aside from the fact that many people have a loss in time, interdimensional beings that hop in and out of higher dimensions as you move from one room to another don't have an issue with time travel at all, or taking experiencers along with them on these journeys. I only wish that there would be more people who come forward about those aspects of their experiences, as I think that this would open up more doors of the subject and more minds would look in this direction. But this is a much deeper aspect than I think many are probably prepared to accept and deal with, as they're more comfortable with looking at, objects in the night sky and maybe, some contact in the night in their bedroom. I don't know. It's just for whoever it resonates with. It's for you. If it doesn't resonate with you, then it's not for you. Then you know who you are, who this is for. You know who you are. And she knows who you are. And you know that this is a message of love and compassion. And I thank you for listening, and I'll continue to post, and peace and unity and love and oneness with you all.